Hey guys, it's Woody the Unexceptional Gamer, and I just finished watching the PS4 conference. I spent 2 hours watching it. I took notes the entire way for you guys so that I could make this video. I'm going to lead with the stuff that I think is insightful, the things that I can offer that you won't see on every other video, and then time permitting, I'm going to go over just sort of the specs and type of, I don't know, news report that you're going to see everywhere else. So let's start with the stuff that is unique to me, and hopefully you guys find some value in it. Here we go. Alright, so Sony is changing the way that you play games. Right now it is kind of an individual experience. You play it on your couch, you might even play it with some friends on different teams, but it's not so much all of you guys together, like playing on the same screen, right? That's not what happens today. It's what they want to happen tomorrow. They're adding a share button to the controller, and it's going to do a couple things. One, it can stream on Ustream. They didn't mention anything about YouTube or Twitch, by the way, but Ustream's also a major player and whatever. You can share your gameplay on Ustream like they do today, or you can just share it so that your friends can watch over your shoulder or give you advice, or you can virtually hand the controller off to somebody else, and with that technology, they'll be able to play your game for you. Maybe you're struggling, on how to get through an area. You can hand the controller to your friend. And then that same technology allows you to, virtually hand the controller over to your PS Vita, and then you can just play it from there. And your PS4 will be the horsepower that runs these awesome games, but the PS Vita will be the controller and the screen. You can imagine how technology that lets me let you play on my screen, and you play with your controller on mine, would also enable you to use the PS Vita as the screen and controller and leverage my horsepower. So that's that, but that's not really the whole story. What I'm trying to say is they're changing the way that you play games by making it a more social experience. They're trying to make it more of a Facebook-y, Twitter, the whole world works together kind of thing that doesn't exist today. And this is what I find interesting. It's a tool that maybe Microsoft has no counter for. We'll see what Microsoft has to offer. But I want you to think of the iPhone. The iPhone in itself, is just a phone with an open API, and it's not really interesting or amazing or whatever, right? And then, I know this guy, he was saying, he walked in on his wife, and she was hanging a picture in the room, and she stuck the iPhone on top of it, and it had a level built into it. That was part of the deal. So, there is no way anybody at Apple would have ever thought, if we built levels into our phones, or if we bought, all these different games, if we built in a compass into our phone, then suddenly we'd sell more, right? That's not the way that people think. Can you imagine anybody at Nokia saying, damn, you know what this phone really needs? Angry Birds. No, that's not going to happen. What you do is you give these people good tools, and then you let the world leverage its creativity, and all of a sudden you'll get something that is great. That's how this stuff works. So what I see from Sony was not so much amazing ideas out of Sony. What I saw were interesting tools. Things like screen sharing, things like live streaming, things that you're not going to find everywhere. And even though, with my limited creativity, I didn't see anything awesome about it today, skip forward to what other people can do that is awesome, and you might have an amazing platform. If today all I saw was, hey, I can hand my controller off to someone who's not in the same room. Cool, I guess. But tomorrow, that could be some sort of amazing facet of gameplay that's not happening now. Just like your smartphone really only has a few limited tools, like an accelerometer, a compass, and internet connectivity. It's changed your life by having the internet in your pocket. Well, how is this going to change your gaming experience by having all of your friends in your pocket? How can you play games in a co-op way now that doesn't just involve the two of you pressing buttons at the same time, but instead leverages this technology in ways we haven't thought of yet? That to me is what's interesting about the PS4 and the Xbox 720 race that's coming up. Hardware-wise, they're both going to be very similar in terms of capability. They're both going to be PC-like architectures. They're both going to be, equally powerful. But what kind of games are people going to use with this like screen sharing, creativity, social environment that didn't used to be there? That's the question. Alright, other interesting stuff that they talked about. Here, let's just go through it quickly. It's going to have 8 gigs of unified RAM, which means that the memory card and the CPU share the same RAM. And normally that'd be like a scary thing because, you know, CPU RAM isn't as fast as GPU RAM. But what they're doing is they're just making it all fast. They're using DDR5 RAM, and it's all going to be this super fast RAM. It's a good thing. It's okay. For console specs, this is high-end stuff. So it's going to have the 8 gigs of RAM. We were worried it was 4. We heard rumors of both. It's 8. Have no fear. It's going to have an x86 architecture, and that was really interesting to me. There were a whole bunch of moments in their presentation where they practically apologized for the cell shader technology that they had before. It's not that it sucked. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's that it was different. When people write games for PCs, for Xboxes, and for PS3s, then what they have are PCs and Xboxes, which are a similar architecture and easy to get right on both. And then this sort of, you know, orphaned child out there that is the PS3, which is different. And it's like, you know, do you wonder why the PS3 games don't run quite as well that are cross-platform? It's because, you know, they decided to break the mold, and you know, you would spend a lot of effort to get PS3 stuff to run, whereas the other stuff just sort of ran naturally because it followed the same architecture. Without saying, I'm sorry, my bad, they made like a half a dozen references that essentially said, I'm sorry, my bad. Next time, we're going to run on the same architecture that the Xbox 720 and PCs run on. So, as gamers, that's good. We don't need these things to be different. We need them to be good. And that's where they're headed. Interesting to me. They're no longer trying to differentiate themselves by inventing their own unique little snowflake of an architecture. Now, they're trying to fit in with the mainstream, and we're going to get better cross-platform games as a result of it. Another thing that was really interesting to me was Suspend Mode. You know, right now, I find the process of booting up my console to really suck. I use my consoles for a lot of stuff. A lot. I use it for my Netflix. I use it for my gaming. I use them several times a day, every day. And the fact that they get turned off, or if they lose network connectivity, there's this long dashboard song and dance to get the thing freaking connected again. And a lot of times I can't do it from Netflix. I have to exit back, and it sucks. Now they're going into suspend mode, and they didn't mention anything about losing network, but I assume it'll be slick. No longer will we be booting up our stuff all the time to get it to work, and I'm happy about that. I'm glad that they recognize this, you know, always-on paradigm is the way that it goes. And that translates over to your games, by the way. Like, you're going to be playing, say, a single-player campaign. You can just hit the off button. It switches into this, like, suspended state where, you know, it uses just a little bit of power and stays alive. And when you're ready to come back, you turn it on, and you're right there, saved in your game at the exact moment you were before. The whole notion of turning it all the way off is gone, right? That's a dead concept, and I'm happy about that. This seems like a big advancement. I sure hope that the Xbox mirrors that, because I like competition, and it's something that I really want in a console. If they don't do it, then they're severely lacking compared to the PS4, because this always-on, you know, instant save type stuff, it sounds great. It sounds like it dramatically makes my gaming experience better. And not just my gaming experience. I want to be able to stop my Netflix in midstream and then just come right back to it where I left off, instead of, like, this whole boot process nonsense. Beyond that, like, one of the things I was looking for was a reason to get Xbox people to ditch the Xbox and use the PS4 instead. Like, you know, that's the pitch. I expect Microsoft to try to do the reverse of that. I expect Sony to do just that. And I didn't really see it. I think what's going to differentiate the two is what the third parties do for each of the platforms. I think that the platforms are going to be very close. They're both going to be PC architectures. They're both going to have 10 cores. They're both going to have roughly equivalent GPUs. They're both going to have, you know, roughly equivalent hardware everywhere. It's just a matter of which one of these gets iPhone-like love, where they turn everything into something awesome and all this creativity happens there. And if there's anything neat happening, you know it's going down on the iPhone and maybe other places too. Or is it going to get the BlackBerry treatment, where like nobody loves you and the platform just doesn't really explode in the next thing? Not because the hardware sucks, but because nobody gave it any love. That's the thing. So which one? The Xbox, the PS4? Who's going to be getting the love from the third-party guys? Who's going to be changing your gaming experience and making it cool? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. I don't think the hardware is going to differentiate one console from the other. The real differentiator is going to be, which one of these platforms gets the love from all the developers. And you know what? I'm going to throw another half a game domination on here because I'm not quite done talking yet. Okay, it's the same map. I'm sorry. I went on vacation and used my gameplays, and I just don't have a lot of variety to pick from right now. But it is a different game. It's just the same damn map. Anyway, back on topic. They also showed us some of the games that were out there, and a lot of the games were exclusives. And to me, something about exclusives just instantly become less interesting. Like, I don't know. I like it when the world's playing with me, and it's not just a matter of getting more viewers and cutting my audience in half and stuff, although I'd be lying. Nice nade, Woody. I'd be lying if I said that didn't enter my mind. It's also a matter of, like, I feel like, if it's a less popular game, somehow it's less interesting to me. I like it when everybody's playing with me. If I was you and I was going to school, I think it'd be more interesting to talk about titles that other guys are playing too, as opposed to being the only one. But maybe I'm just wired different. I don't know. You can decide what's cool on your own. But they showed us a lot of exclusives. Killzone looked like a PC game. There were so many, like the things that you only really see in PC, like the gazillion little details that that are the dust and the flaming rags, and look at this guy, the flaming rags and stuff like that sort of distinguish PC games from console games. That stuff was all in there on the PS4. It very much looked like a PC game, and it looked amazing. So that was really cool. At the very end, they showed Destiny. If you guys don't know, Bungie is the company that wrote Halo, and they were a Microsoft exclusive for a long time. They're writing Destiny for I think it's going to be cross-platform. Like, I didn't hear him mention it, but then on my Twitter feed, everybody said that it was. So maybe you can leave a comment if you happen to know if Destiny is cross-platform or not. But Bungie is no longer not cross-platform. Bungie can write anywhere they want. They're writing Destiny, and it's going to run on the PS4. And it looked like a super cool game. I swear, my Twitter feed was filled with, is this the COD killer? Is this the COD killer? Is this the one? And, I looked at it and I was like, it could be. It looked different enough, but still shooter enough to really capture my attention. It looked super cool, Destiny did. And I think it runs across platform. Although I've heard that it's going to run on the PS3 also. And that's kind of interesting to me. Like, if they write a game that's able to run on old generation consoles, does that mean they are missing out on some of the capabilities of the latest stuff? Like, I almost don't want to hear that your new game is capable of running on a last-gen console. I think, I don't know, maybe I should have a different mindset, but the fact that it runs on the PS3 too makes me wonder, like, are you doing this right or, not? I spawned into that guy's sites. There was another game called Driveclub that looked super cool. Like, it looked really, really cool. So here's the deal. We all know driving games, they're kind of individualistic and they do their thing. Well, it looked amazing. Graphically, out of this world. And something about driving games, they always seem to look better than every other game. I don't know why. Maybe it's just less moving parts or something, but driving games always sort of set the standard on how good a game can look. But Driveclub is changing the way you play. They have this idea, like, you know what? When you play the game, it shouldn't just be about, who drives the best. There can be different roles, and you're driving as a team. That's why it's Driveclub. And, like, one guy can be a blocker. One guy, it's almost like, you can play the objective. And he made reference to the way that shooters do now, right? Like, some guys are the slayers, and then there are other people who are valuable to the team who aren't just pure slayers. And it was like, aha, they're kind of taking this shared experience, this new concept of the way that people play together, and altering the gameplay. And that's really exciting to me. Like, I have this hope that our next generation of games takes us to more than just better looking versions of the same thing, but instead turns it into new versions of a new thing. I don't know if that makes sense, a back to the phone thing. don't just show me, you know, whatever, how many processors are on the CPU on your phone. Allow the developers to have tool sets, to let them use their creativity, their creative ideas to make this thing totally different than it used to be. That, to me, is where the blockbuster ideas are going to come from. You know, nobody is so smart that, you know, like one company is going to make a better phone than the iPhone. No. You know, the beauty of the iPhone isn't the phone itself. The beauty of the iPhone is the world that have turned it from, you know, a piece of fair hardware to you know, this genius ecosystem of a development world. That's the thing. So the real question on who wins the next gen console world, or the next generation of console wars, isn't really about, you know, who has a better CPU or GPU. It's about who gets developers excited about their platform to do something cool with it. Alright, so I've covered most of the cool stuff. I was looking over my notes. The one thing I left out is that it has a secondary background processor, which is going to introduce multitasking that we didn't have before. So now, you know how now when you download, it's the only thing you can freaking do, and downloads take forever on the PS3. Tomorrow, you'll be able to do something else while that download is happening. Maybe play a game, maybe watch Netflix, maybe do whatever. The fact that there is background processes that now exist and a second, you know, processor just devoted to these small annoying tasks instead of using the big one and, you know, whatever, is a really cool thing. So so there it is. That's my video on the PS4 conference. It's supposed to be in the low to mid $400. It's going to have a very PC-like architecture. The games looked amazing, but the big thing is they're providing a couple tools shifting over to a shared experience gaming, and we haven't predicted yet what kind of impact that's going to be. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe in the top right. Click on that blue box. Here's 2 other videos from me that you may have missed, and have a good day.